It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's the Jill on Money show. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Maybe you're running around. Maybe you're spending money at small businesses. Maybe you're just relaxing, hanging with your family for the first time in way too long. Happy, healthy. I hope everyone had a good holiday. I know that this is one of those times where we gotta love Thanksgiving. You know, it's non-denominational. Hopefully there's no family drama. I'm praying for you guys that that's the case. But most importantly, what does this really signify? It means, whoa, we are head on into the holiday season. What that means for me is we are into the period of time where it's year end and there's a lot of tax and financial planning that has to take place. If you have a year-end or general financial question, all you need to do is go to the website, jillonmoney.com, and click the contact button. That is what Ann did. She is on the line. Hi, Ann. How can we help you out?
So I'm just wondering how to allocate my portfolio. I feel like I've been making sure I've done it for the past 20 years and haven't paid too much attention to what I've invested in. And now that I'm getting a little older and closer to retirement than I have been, I want to make sure I'm invested in the right stuff.
Let me ask you to tell us a little bit about you and where you are in life and what's happening.
So I'm 44. My husband is 41. We have 4 kids. My husband makes about $75,000 a year. I make about... This last year, I made $44,000 a year. My income is pretty inconsistent because I work on call and then I work 2 different contract jobs.
Wait, you're a nurse?
No, I'm not a nurse. I work at a hospital helping kids cope with hospitalization.
Oh my God, that's such a nice thing to do.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. I've done it for 20 years now. And then I teach at 2 different universities. So like I said, my income is inconsistent, but I have been consistent. We've always been consistent at saving 15%. We've got a fully funded emergency fund. We own our home and have a really good interest rate on that.
How much is the house worth? I mean, I know there you have seen a huge housing
it's kind of
explosion,
crazy.
Right? So what's happened?
I would guess it's worth somewhere between $525 and $550 based on what's selling around us.
And what's the outstanding mortgage balance?
It's about $192.
Oh, great. And, you know, on your cash flow, your $120, you put 15% away. You've got your emergency fund. You're paying your mortgage. Are you feeling comfortable in, you don't make a ton of money, but you're making a lot of money relative to the universe. And it seems like you save a lot and you've got 4 kids. So how does it feel for you guys?
It feels better than it's ever been. I mean, during the recession in 2008, my husband, we was underemployed. We were both underemployed for a long time. So it feels better than it's ever, honestly, as far as the cash flow goes.
That's amazing. How old are the kids? Give me just the range.
4 to 14.
Oh, you're busy. Are you a contractor at all those jobs or any of those jobs? Are you W-2?
I guess I'm actually W-2 for all of them. It's just on a contract basis for the universities. It's like, we want you to teach this term. We'll pay you this much money.
I gotcha.
And then it's, we'll see what happens the next term. And it's based on my availability and their availability.
All right. But you're doing fine. You're making this $120,000 a year. You're putting 15% into your retirement accounts. Tell me what's in the retirement accounts right now. Like how much money total?
So there's about $285,000.
Great. That's fantastic. Are either you or your husband entitled to a pension at retirement?
No, I might be entitled to a very small one from when my hospital switched over to stuff, but I honestly don't know. And if I do, it's very small.
Okay. And in the retirement accounts, are you doing traditional or Roth?
We're doing a lot of things.
All right, let's get into it. That's really the nut of your question, which is what's going on in these darn accounts. So tell us what's going on.
There's a lot of things. So we have a Roth through Schwab that we just contribute to our own. That one has about $81,000.
Okay.
We have one through my husband's account that has about $96,000, and it is mostly a traditional, but we switched it to Roth I don't know, 2 years ago.
Okay. So like 90 and 6 or something, whatever it is, right? Okay.
Yeah. And then for me, I have about 100 in my work, and that's the same thing. Like we switched at the same time to a Roth when companies started offering them more.
Right. Mostly traditional. And so yours is a 403B, I guess, or a 401k?
It is. Yes.
Okay.
You're correct. It's a 403B.
Okay. And so there you have it. That's great. So there's your 285.
And then we have like $1,000 in for one of the university jobs. I have just $1,000 because that's just gotten started.
Floating around. Okay, great. Is your husband entitled to a match through his retirement account?
So yes, he is. And with his, we contribute up to his match. And then we put the rest of the 15 to get up to 15%. So I think with his match, we get up to 12% and we take the other 3% and put it in the Schwab account.
And besides these retirement accounts, any money that's outside of retirement at this point?
So we have a health equity account. So the health savings, we have about $5,000 in that's invested. And then $5,000 that's just in the cash to pay for like the yearly expenses.
Okay. That's fantastic. Those are wonderful accounts. They're great to use. It's nice to have it like sitting there. So perfect. Kids, college, anything like that that's on your mind?
It's on my mind, but we're not doing much right now.
Good. Don't worry about it. So at this point, if you're putting 15% into some combination of your retirement accounts through work and then also your Roths, that's that when you said 15%, you were talking about those, sort of both employer and your own accounts, right?
Yep.
Great.
Total.
Okay. And when you're done at the end of the day, any debt besides the mortgage?
No, I mean, we have credit card bills that we pay off monthly.
Okay. That's fine.
No, there's no
auto loans?
No, we drive 20-year-old cars and we're fine with it. So,
what's your 20-year-old car? Maybe I want to get that car.
No, you don't. But I'd love to tell you. You might want to get the one I sold. But the one I have it's a Honda Sienna. It runs great, but it's a minivan and it's really ugly. But it performs
I
well,
like a minivan. I think it's like this. Okay, I don't have a family, but I will say that I always like whenever I borrow my sister-in-law's minivan to do like cart something big. I was like, this is a great car. This is so great. It's so convenient. It's so easy to get in
and that's why we keep it. And if we had a nice car, I would worry that the kids would do something to it.
So now let's talk about the allocation of these accounts, which is you wrote in and you said you really want allocation help. And you said you're worried because you're worried about having some analysis paralysis. So let's break it down. Tell me what you got and tell me what you're thinking.
What I got, that's where it's kind of all over the place. What I've done is in like some of them, like the one for my husband's work, like I was just like, I don't know what I should do. So I signed up on their free thing and they told me what to do. And then I canceled so I don't have to pay the fee. And then I just kept it. And that was a couple of years ago. But that one has some pretty high fees, although I feel like it's doing really well.
How many funds are in that account?
A lot.
I'm going to tell you how many because you
tell me. Tell me how many.
I'll tell you why, because I have your original email here.
Thank you.
I'm putting this out there because it's going to make Mark completely insane. There are 29 different funds to choose from, and we're in 9 of them. 9! 9 funds is more than you need. Okay, we'll get back to our conversation with Ann in just a minute. If you need some financial help, just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. We'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are here to try to take the mystery out of your financial life. The way we do that is we encourage you to go to our website, to JillOnMoney.com. Click the contact button, and all the rest will be taken care of by Mark. Tell us what your question is, and let us know if you want to come on the air. We love having you on the air. We are broadcasting from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? And we love having you on the air with us because it allows us to ask follow-up questions, more in-depth questions. And we'll get back to Anne's question in just a second. But I want to remind you that if you've got more questions, if you really need a professional financial planning experience, we would like to point you to a very interesting organization called Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth is our sponsor, and they provide financial planning to a lot of different kinds of people. Facet Wealth provides flat fee, conflict-free planning, and that planning advice comes from a certified financial planner, the real deal, gang. Facet also sports an excellent feature in that there are no wealth or account minimums. Facet meets you where you are, and I think that's really important. So if you need financial help, financial planning from a dedicated, certified financial planner, head over to facetwealth.com, facetwealth.com. Okay, so now we are going to get back to Anne, who we're talking about portfolio allocation. I know this can stymie people all the time. You don't have to worry too much. Again, if you want to come on the air with us, please just go to the website, jillonmoney.com, and click the contact button. Let us know, hey, I want to come on the air. Okay, let's continue with Anne. Then you've got 8% international. I'd make that 10%. And I would make 10% your small cap index, 70, 80, 90. I'm just adding this up in my head. Do you have to be all stock? Are you willing to consider a bond index?
I'm willing. I was doing that in the Schwab, and then like in my work account, I was doing the retirement one, and I thought that would capture the.
I mean, okay, that's fine.
I'm calling you because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm putting money in every month because that's what they tell me to do. But after that, I don't know what I'm doing.
Listen, Schlesinger, I'm doing what you're telling me to do. Just help me figure this out. Okay, here's what I think you should do. Let's keep it simple. This Schwab account, let's put 3 funds in your Schwab account, and it's going to be all stocks. Now, if this is going to be the one that whips around, right? It's just going to go all over the place.
I can handle that.
Okay, fine. You're going to go 15% in the international fund. You're going to go 70% in the S&P 500 fund, and you're going to go 15% in the small cap fund. Done. Now, I want you to take those allocations. I want you to apply it to the existing allocation and to any future money as well.
Okay.
15, 70, 15. 3 funds. That's all you have.
Awesome.
That's your Schwab account. Okay. Next, let's talk about the husband's traditional account. Okay. You got all that in one retirement plan in a target date fund, right?
So yeah, and that's my retirement. Not that it matters. That's in the 403B, and the Lincoln's the 403B.
Inside of that Lincoln 403B, are there index funds inside of that rather than the target date fund?
So here's the thing I don't even have to do the 403B from work. Because I'm not matched because of my status as an employee. I used to be, and then they changed the rules and it made me mad. But I'm not matched anymore. I only do it because the reason I do it there is because it's consistent, because my paychecks vary from week to week, and that consistently takes out my 15%.
That's fine. I mean, it's not, I mean, I would just, if you could follow up with me, and if you sent me the list of the Lincoln choices, target date fund is fine. Mark, are you okay with the target date fund in the Lincoln account? Yeah, send us some. Okay. Send us those. Okay, so then that's that. You're going to follow up with that. Next, let's talk about this. The Fidelity. Tell me about the funds in there. What do you got?
I think I have some really expensive ones. Sorry.
Tell me.
Those are. I have I don't even know what they are. They're just numbers. And like I said, I signed up for the free thing. It's like, let us help you allocate your portfolio. So I'm like, listen, great, do it.
And here's the deal. No looking back. Let's look forward. So let's talk about what you have right now. I really don't, honestly, everyone listening, you have to understand. The only reason I do the going back is if I'm trying to understand why you made a certain decision. But most of us in our retirement accounts, we are very flip about the decisions we make. So let's talk about what you have in this your husband's mostly traditional retirement account. What's in there?
A FIAM blend, TD, Fidelity 500 index, Contra Fund, GIB EXUS IDX, Fidelity low price, HTFD International, MFS.
HTFD. Okay, keep going. MFS.
Yeah. MFS value, PIM, I think is at the PIMCO total return.
So it's just a plain old Fidelity account now, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
Right. So there's a couple of funds that you mentioned that I think are really important to keep. The S&P 500 index, we have Fidelity low price stock. There is a fund that you should check out. It's an international index, is F as in Frank, Z, I, L as in Larry, X, X-ray. And that is probably the best international fund that you can, kind of check out. The other one that I think you should try to look at is the Fidelity Intermediate Term Bond Index. That is, you ready for this? F as in Frank, UAMX. That's the Fidelity Intermediate Term Bond Index. That's it. Easy peasy. And, if you don't want the low price stock, because actually I think low price stock that might be a little more expensive. You should check out the small cap index fund, which is F as in Frank, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, N Nancy, X X-ray. Couldn't I be a travel consultant? Let's do that one. Let's do the small cap index instead. I mean, low price stock is a great fund. However, it's expensive. And then, PIMCO Total Return is a very good fund. It really is. In fact, you could either do the PIMCO Total Return or you can do the Intermediate Term Bond Index. Those are the two different ones that you could try. In these accounts, you want to have some bonds. So I don't know how much you have in the bonds right now in the PIMCO Total Return, but you're 44. You're not going to retire for 20 something years. Probably you probably should have 20% in bonds just for the heck of it. And then same deal. Like when you look at your index, make that be like the core holding. 40, 50%. 50% in large cap index, S&P 500, 15% in small cap index, 15% in international, and 20% in bonds, either PIMCO Total Return or that bond fund that I gave you. And then you're done. You guys got your wills? You got what's going on?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
I know.
I made a phone call a couple months ago and they haven't called me back.
Okay, can I just say that when I ask that question and it's like, have you done your wills? And there's like the pause, like, that's always a bad sign. Okay, here's what I want you to do.
We have
life insurance? Okay,
yeah.
Good. What do you got?
$1 million on my husband, 500 on me.
And it's term life, right?
Term life, yeah.
Great. Okay, nice and cheap. Good. You might be slightly underinsured for you.
Yeah, that's what my husband says. He's like, if you die, I'm going to need more.
Exactly. Not only is he going to need more, but he's going to need either more money or more help or he's going to have to find a Mary Poppins who wants to just fly right into the backyard. Do you have any way to buy life insurance through any of these healthcare professional organizations that you have? Because sometimes it's really cheap if you do it as a group plan.
I don't know. I don't think so because I'm not benefited, but I will look.
Check it out.
Yeah. Okay.
But you get another $500,000 at least for, let's say that at least for 10 years.
Okay.
Because, you have a youngster.
Right.
And we don't want anything bad to happen for you.
Right.
I mean, not too much. We don't want to give him an incentive to knock you off.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
Do you have friends who are lawyers? Do you have any friends who are lawyers?
Yes, but I don't know that they do will and trust.
Don't worry, just call them.
Lawyers. Okay.
Yeah, just call them up and be like, I need a trust lawyer. I just need someone to bang out to get these documents done. That's what you want to do. Because even if it's like, it's a real estate lawyer, there's someone in the firm or they know somebody. I went to law school with this guy who does that, with this gal who does. If you're really not getting your stuff together, go to Policy Genius and do their online module and get something down. All right. Well, we're going to be right back. But during the break, this is what you should do. Go to JillOnMoney.com, sign up for the free weekly newsletter, and subscribe to our podcast. We have two of them. We have Jill on Money and we have Eye on Money. Both are fabulous, although I'm biased. I really do think they're a lot of fun. Check them out. Just go to JillOnMoney.com and we'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are here to try to take the mystery out of your financial life. If you have a financial question, just go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the contact button. That is what Sarah did. Sarah's got an important question about home office, something a lot of us are doing right now, home offices. All right, Sarah, what's on your mind? What can we do for you?
We recently did what I think is kind of a crazy thing, but maybe not. Once the pandemic started, I found myself working at home all the time. And before that, I was kind of half working outside of my apartment, half at home. And my husband works at home. And we are not driving each other quite crazy, but we really decided we needed more room.
Mm.
And so, we're both self-employed in our different businesses. And we recently bought the apartment next door.
Ah, okay. Like literally next door.
Literally next door.
But you're not going to blow through. You're going to keep this as a bit like as an office or what?
We're going to keep it as an office. We went back and forth on the blowing it through. And first of all, it would probably cost about $20,000 just to take the wall down.
Mm.
So, I was like, no, thank you. That, and also I want an office that's very, very quiet. And also eventually the plan is, I live in a co-op. The plan is eventually we use this apartment office for 15, 20 years. Maybe in the future, if we don't need the space, we can sell it.
All right. That seems good. Now, how much did you pay for the adjacent apartment?
It was $300,000.
Did you pay for that with a mortgage?
No, we had to pay cash because it was such a wreck that there was no bank in the world that would give us a mortgage.
Wait a minute. I don't believe you.
No, you cannot. This is something people don't know until they try to buy a wreck. Basically, a bank, at least in New York, will not give you a mortgage if the apartment doesn't have a good bathroom. It does have a bathroom. It's the scariest bathroom I've ever seen. And if it doesn't have a working kitchen, because it's not considered habitable.
You bought an apartment with those two things.
Without those
two things, with those two features.
Yes.
A rotten bathroom. What was in there? Who was in there?
The guy who lived there, it's funny because he was actually very nice, but he traveled all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumors go around, no one had ever seen his apartment. Mm-hmm. He was not like clinical hoarder, but he was borderline hoarder. Like his place wasn't dirty. But he was the kind of person who had lots of boxes. The boxes never moved. And he lived there 35 years.
Oh my God.
He never renovated anything. The tiles started to come off the wall and he duct taped them.
Stop it.
No, he duct taped the bathroom tiles to the wall.
So wait a minute. You got to clean this. How much do you have to spend to clean this thing up?
It's going to cost, actually, we're in the process now. It's going to be under $100K.
And so you had the cash to do this and you have the cash to do this renovation.
We did.
Okay. How much is your current apartment worth?
My current apartment is worth about $450.
Any mortgage outstanding on that?
No, because it was really inexpensive.
You're both self-employed. How much do you each make?
In a regular year or in like this bad year and last bad year?
Let's do both, like a regular year.
All right. A regular year, it's like 80 to 95 for me.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, it's about 150 to 200.
And what happened amid COVID?
Amid COVID, last year was really bad. Last year was probably like 45K for me. Mm-hmm. He did actually pretty well. He probably made about 100 and something.
Do you feel like you have a sense of how much it costs for you to live your lives? Like, you make a bunch of money, like you make 250 or 300, but you save a lot also, obviously, because you had money. Do you have an idea about like what it costs to support yourselves?
In a lean month, not lean being income, but in a month we just don't go out that much or don't spend a lot of money, it's about 9,000. Mm-hmm. And in a month we spend a lot of money, it's about 10 or 11.
Tell me about the savings that you guys have done with retirement.
I looked at mine. I have about 367,000 in a SEP IRA. I've got 99,000 in a Roth. And Sam, my husband, he has 237 in a SEP. 395 in a Roth. Mm-hmm. And we both do other non-retirement investments.
And what's in that non-retirement?
So I have in my brokerage 154,000 and he has 700,000.
This is excellent. How old are you guys?
I'm 51 and he's 56.
Are you happy workers? I mean, you work from home and you're self-employed. Does that mean that you think you'll be working for a while? Like what's your game plan?
I think I'll be working until I'm 65. Mm-hmm. I think he might work a little later. He's a really happy worker. I'm a pretty happy worker.
Wait, what does he do that he's so happy? Everybody wants to be that happy.
He's a graphic designer. He just loves it.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why he loves it so much, but he does. I mean, no, his job isn't bad or anything. I mean, he has really nice clients. I think he's a really good designer. But I don't understand why someone could love working that much.
I love that. I think that's great. I think that's amazing. So he's going to be working for a while. How do you guys get your health insurance?
It's not technically catastrophic insurance, but I call it catastrophic insurance. We have Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's through New York.
Yes. And basically with Oscar, they cover your annual physical, they cover like OBGYN, and pretty much nothing else is covered until you reach a very, very high deductible.
I don't love that.
I don't love it, and it gets more and more expensive every year. So this year I'm going to revisit it, and I might go back to like a Blue Cross Blue Shield kind of thing.
Yeah, only because, not to like beat the drum of something that's so obvious, that you're in your 50s. That's when stuff starts to happen. And we want you to feel more, I want you to feel like comfortable, because, you know, it sounds to me like you've got good cash flow and you can probably afford to, you know, do a little bit more. And so I don't know. I'm not sure that I would feel like it's not terribly important that you know, skimp on that particularly, you know?
Yeah, it's probably not. I mean, it's also not as much of a savings as you would think. I think it's going to be, they say it's going to be 600 and something next year.
You got to pay more than that.
Yeah,
You're
I think
gonna,
I do.
yeah,
I
definitely.
think I'm going to have to.
So tell me a little bit about so you guys are both going to use the adjacent apartment as an office?
We are, and we split it up where I have the bedroom. And the bedroom has, you know, 4 walls. It's got the door, and I wanted the door. He has the living room, and the kitchen, we're probably going to use it as kind of an art room.
Well, what's good about this is because you are using this exclusively for work, it makes it very easy for your taxes. Very easy. We'll finish up with Sarah in just a minute. If you've got a question about deductions, home office, all that stuff, just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button, and we'll get your note. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and let's get right back into it. Let's hop back on the line with Sarah to talk about some of her other general retirement needs now that we've talked about that home office deduction. Do you guys have an accountant?
We don't. And it's a long, long story, which I won't get into. But the reason we don't is even though we liked our accountant and he was very good at what he did, he was one of these very last minute people. And one year he mailed me the information I had to sign for my taxes when I was away. Like, you can't depend on people being at home on April 13th to sign the papers.
No.
And so we don't. And we've been using TurboTax.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a little bit trickier for you.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So when you did TurboTax for tax year 2020, did you deduct a portion of your apartment because you were working from home?
Yes, we did.
Okay. You know what? At least for this first year where you have the apartment, I don't know, maybe you guys can do it on your own. Think about that. But everything that apartment is, you know, sort of costing you in terms of like every single aspect of it will be deductible. It will be because you're using it for an office. It's not like, oh, I have to calculate this. You just have to you have to just calculate the square footage to think about what is allocated to your income and what is allocated to his. That's it. So it's very easy to do. And I mean everything. So I mean electricity, and I mean cable and modem and everything else. Okay. Anything that is that apartment, that is all about a business expense. Okay.
Okay. That's good news because the maintenance is, I think, $800 and something a month.
Yeah. The whole thing, everything, totally done. I mean, you won't get the same deduction on your current, but it's actually easier. It's just easier accounting for it, frankly. It really is. The reason why I want you to talk to an accountant is that the renovation, because this is for business, it may be that renovation there's 2 different ways to treat it. The one is that, you know, it's a capital expenditure for this thing, or it could just be a way to raise your basis in the apartment. So if you bought it for 3, the renovation you might say, okay, well, 3, it's really 4 because we spent 100 renovating it. And so when you go to sell it, your cost basis would be higher. But you should talk to an accountant about that also, for sure. so this is about like how we treat the apartment. What else do you need to know around the self-employment stuff?
I'm really wondering if it's time for both of us to become LLCs. We've been doing the tax filing as married filings jointly, and we just do the Schedule C, and we've been sole proprietors.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if it might be time to do the LLC because of liability.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out, I used to think that if you were an LLC, the taxes were really complicated,
No.
but I found out it wasn't.
No, it's the same thing. It's a
Yeah.
pass through. It's
Yeah.
as if now an LLC, it's literally you fill out a form with New York.
Yeah.
Like, I'm an LLC. Like, that's it. It's a very easy form to fill out. You have to wait. You can wait for a tax ID number or not. You can be a single member LLC that with just you. But I think, again, I think the key to this next period for you is talking to a CPA who really understands the rules. And there are some really weird rules about New York City also, because New York City has a special tax called like UBT or some
Yeah,
sort of business. Like it's so the nonsense. There are things that you have to just keep in mind. I think that because you're both self-employed, it makes sense to actually have a diligent and non-procrastinator CPA.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was away and I got this email from him and he's like, I have mailed you the tax forms. You'll need to sign this document and scan it back. I'm like, I'm not here.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure about the LLC. It's really not a big deal,
Yeah.
but it may give you some advantages and it may be just structurally easier to deal with. I don't know. Maybe it's a pain in the neck and it isn't. So we should find out about that for sure. And, keep saving. I mean, how much money do you feel like is going into those SEP accounts versus the non-qualified accounts? What's the combo here when you think about your savings?
I think it's pretty much, it's max out the IRA.
Yep.
And then whatever is left goes into a non-retirement brokerage account.
That's fine.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit of a control freak. And so I have a pretty healthy emergency fund.
How much?
I have 60,000.
That's great. That's perfect.
And actually together we have 80 something thousand because we're both a little paranoid.
That's, why? Because when you're self-employed, there's no safety net. You are your own safety net.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I've got 340,000 or 360 in a SEP IRA, and I keep hearing people talk about this retirement time bomb. Do you think I should convert it to Roth?
I mean, you have a bunch of money in Roth already, okay? If you converted it, then you'd eat up your cash. And could you still be putting money in? I don't know. I don't think you really need to do that.
Oh,
that's the way to do it. You're absolutely right. Mark says if you're doing an LLC, then you can do a solo 401k, and then you could potentially slowly convert the SEP IRA into the Roth. But remember, you're going to have to keep extra cash on hand then.
Yeah, because of the taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, you're making a lot of money now. You guys are in a decent tax bracket. You're going to go back to your post-COVID earnings, right?
I'm sure I will.
Right. You're living in New York. It's a high tax state. So, I mean, you're in 24-ish%. Maybe you could do that. But if you're going to maybe keep working and you're making less money in a year, like last year would have been the year to convert, right? Because you made less money. But I don't know. I don't have this huge you should convert. Do you have a question about your retirement, your investments, your taxes? Just hop onto the website, JillOnMoney.com, JillOnMoney.com, and click the contact button. We'll get your note right away. Okay, let's go do some business. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. Yep, this is the program that takes the mystery out of your financial life. If you have a question, just go to our website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the contact button. This is from Tim, who writes, "Hi, I was unemployed last year. I did my taxes before they changed the tax laws." That's with the COVID relief plans. Now I got a notice in May that the IRS changed my refund to a higher amount. And yet, as of today, I'm still waiting for that tax refund. Will I get it this year? If I don't get it, what will I do when I file next year? Thanks, Tim. Well, Tim, I think you should get that refund. I don't know if it's going to come this year. I think that most of these issues are going to get cleared up when we all file in the springtime, but it's going to be very confusing, what with the child tax credit and some of the changes to the rules for last year and this year. I think that we're going to have to keep a close eye when we file. And of course, you've got to make sure that you stay on top of it. Listen, the IRS makes mistakes and they are underfunded. So let's see where you land, and definitely do keep in touch with us. All right, so we're going to go to a break. And right now, what I would like you to do is, if you have a financial question, is just go to the website, JillOnMoney.com. You can click the contact button. While you're there, sign up for the free weekly newsletter. It is free. Mark does it every Friday. You should get it. It's fantastic. Right there on the website, JillOnMoney.com. Sign up for the free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. That's also right on the site. Okay, we'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome back. It's hour number 2 of Jill on Money, and we are here answering your financial questions. I just have to tell you that I love hearing from you. We are so grateful for all of the amazing emails, all the notes that you send us from JillOnMoney.com. We are also quite grateful that you sign up for that free weekly newsletter. It comes out every Friday. But I know that many of you have a lot more complicated situations. And if that's the case, or if you're already working with a financial planning firm and you're thinking, maybe it's not worth it, you might want to check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth provides goal-based financial planning, and that financial planning comes from certified financial planners, the kinds that are fiduciaries at all times. And that's what I like. I think that what's incredible about the experience of doing financial planning is it can really reorder your priorities. And when you have someone who is doing goal-based planning and it's on your behalf and it's for a flat fee and there are no conflicts, it can be an incredible experience. So I encourage you to check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Just go to FacetWealth.com. See how easy that is? FacetWealth.com. Okay, so let's get into it. We are taking your questions. We are going to start with Philip, who's on the line from Chicago. Welcome, Philip. How are you today?
I am well, Jill. How are you?
Doing great. Now, the reason I am so excited is that right before we got on the air, I noticed from Philip's signature line that he's actually a shrink. So I feel like we're about to have a very interesting conversation about money and emotions, and you can do some therapy on us as well. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right. So what brings you onto the program today? Give everyone the background and what is it that got you on the air today that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so recently I've heard about you talking with some listeners about if they're on track or not. And I kind of feel like I'm in the boat of an aggressive spender and almost obsessively, or it's not spender, saver, and obsessively so. And I'm just wondering, like, am I saving too much? And then also just I had some questions about kind of rebalancing and how to decide when you need to start going into more conservative, allocations and whatnot.
Okay, that sounds great. First of all, how old are you, Philip?
I'm 43.
Okay, and you work full time, right?
I do, and then I have a side hustle that actually produces more income than my full-time job.
Whoa, how much do you make on the full-time job?
About 90,000.
Okay, and the side hustle?
Since the pandemic, about 125 a year.
You know why? Because everyone's crazy. They need you.
It's
Get me that Zoom. Are you doing Zoom, phone? How are you doing it?
It's exclusively teletherapy, or occasional phone call, depending on what the client's needs are. But nothing in person.
How do you feel about the difference between teletherapy, physical therapy, and phone? Compare those three.
That's a good question. I don't think anything really beats in person, but I really try to meet the client's needs and where they're at. So, I think phone or telehealth is better than nothing. And especially given like the current environment that we've been in, it's, hey, we'll take what we can get. But I don't think anything beats in person, but it's certainly good for scheduling and planning and ending and starting on time. I'll tell you that.
Like, okay, we're done. Bye. Yep. I'm sorry, our time is up. Okay, so you're an aggressive saver. Tell us the kind of retirement saving that you are doing for both of these chunks of income.
I get a 403B and a 457 through my employer. So I max those out every year. And actually in 2022, I think I just found out that my organization is going to be going to a Roth version of that. So I plan on doing, Roth 403B, Roth 457. So that'll be nice. I also have an HSA through my employer. And then I also have a Roth and a traditional IRA, just from kind of like past lives. And then I have a brokerage account. And then I have various other accounts, like things like Acorns and whatnot, stuff like that. So I don't know if you want me to tell you my numbers for each of those accounts.
Hold on a second. Yeah. Are you making any contributions from the side hustle income?
That's pretty much all going into my brokerage account. I did open a SEP. But I haven't funded it yet because I'm just because this is so new for me in terms of like how much I am earning in the side hustle since COVID. I'm kind of just a little unclear. I don't want to overfund that. So I'm going to do the 20% once like this 2021 calendar year is done.
Right. Just to open it up. Okay. Yeah. So let's do the basics now. Tell us how much money is in your Roth. Let's start with your Roth IRA, your traditional IRA, and we'll go then to the 403B and the 457. All
right. The Roth, I have 119,000 there.
Okay.
The traditional, I have 191,000. Mm-hmm. The 403B, I have 49,000. The 457, I have 53,000.
Okay.
And in the HSA, I have about 13,000.
Great. And the brokerage, like if you give me the brokerage, do you want to do all those other accounts and just sort of throw it all in together? Like the brokerage plus?
Yeah, the Acorns and all that. That's looking at about 255,000.
Great.
I have cash of about 133,000.
Rent or own?
I own. I have 112,000 left on my mortgage at 3.125%.
What's the place worth?
Probably about 270.
Any plans to do anything else real estate wise or stay where you are?
I think I'm going to stay where I'm at.
Are you single, partnered, married, anything?
Partnered, but we live apart and we don't combine financial sources yet.
Interesting. I feel like after going 19 months of COVID, there are many partnerships that live together who are like, okay, now let's do 19 months apart. Let's do that. Let's see how that works. That's great.
Yeah, it's been good.
Okay, so that's great. You've got a whole bunch of money saved. You're a very young guy. I'm in my experience with therapists, they do that for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Do you have any aspirations about early retirement, some retirement, when you want?
Yes.
What's our goal here?
Yeah, so I work at a school full time, and while it's lovely on many fronts, it's really challenging work. So I would like to kind of phase out of the school job within the next 7 years, maybe around 50, because this is my pension eligible year, so I will get somewhat of a pension later on. And I think just given what I earn in my side hustle, I could just do that, easily sustain my kind of lifestyle, plus put some money away still. and kind of let the money that I already have ride until I'm ready to take that out in my late 50s.
If you were to retire from the school at age 50, you said you'd be entitled to a pension. Would you be entitled to health care also?
No, but I think that's where the wonderful partnership that I'm in would come into play.
Oh, you mean I'm only going to get married for the insurance? This feels like a New York story, Mark. Like it's like we used to say, well, I guess, if I have to give up my apartment, that would be the one thing. That would the only reason I'd get married, just to, it's a real estate transaction.
Listen, I mean, it's been 2 years. We started dating right before COVID, so it is going down that track. It's just there's no need for that yet. But there's no signs of that changing. So I think, by that time, yes, we will be cohabitating and I would be eligible for his insurance benefits.
Okay, we'll get back to Philip in just a minute. During the break, here is a great idea. Just go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, and bookmark it. Bookmark it, and then you can come back anytime you want. JillOnMoney.com. We will be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are broadcasting from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? I was just out with a friend, actually, who was making fun of the fact that I still carry cash. I don't know why. It's just old habits. You probably don't need to carry too much cash anymore. Anyway, let's get back to talking to Philip, who was questioning about saving too much and being too aggressive. All right, this sounds like a great plan. I think you're doing a ton of saving. I think doing the Roth eventually will be great. I mean, look, you don't have to kill yourself on the side hustle if you're doing it because you like it and you're building a business, sort of developing that business. I think that's fine. I'm guessing that even if you just had, let's wind the clock forward. Let's say you're 50, and in today's dollars, obviously you could support yourself on $100,000 a year. Right? That's pretty easy. Yep. And even if at that time in 7 years you had $100,000 and the only thing you were doing was putting, I'm going to guess, like 10 or 15% in a SEP, or putting money in a Roth and then some in the SEP, like you've already done a lot of the heavy lifting. I mean, you don't have a ton saved for retirement, but you do have a bunch, and you are going to be hyper aggressive in the next 7 years. Like the 403B and the 457 are going to be very quickly built up. What is the guesstimate of your pension benefit if you were to leave it 50 and you wait to tap that until, let's say, you're 65-ish? What would the monthly pension benefit be?
I don't know. I'm probably not much. Maybe $2,000 to $3,000 a month.
Wait a minute. That's not that much.
Oh.
That's actually a real number.
Okay.
The reason I say that is that, that's a number that can provide a little bit of relief from feeling like you have to oversave in the 50 to 60s, in terms of retirement, because that does take a lot of the pressure off. Who knows what's going to happen with your real estate, whether you move in with partner moves in with you, but chances are the housing costs are going to be pretty minimal. You just don't have a lot of money left on your mortgage. Mm-hmm. So I think you sound like you're in really, like when you say, am I on track? Yes, you are on track because you are an aggressive saver. Look, you'll figure this out. It might be that at age 50, you're like, you know what? I'm done. Or you might be like, hey, you know what? I'm fine. I'm going to stay. But you don't have to stay. And I think that's a lovely goal to have. Once you do get to age 50, I think the pressure is going to be off to do hyper amounts of saving like you're doing right now. Because you will be doing it in this. I mean, look, basically you're taking advantage of this time horizon where you have the cash flow and you're socking it away. I think it's awesome. It's just great.
What am I doing with this $133,000 in cash that's just too much for me? Am I just dumping that into the brokerage as well?
what's like 6 or 12 months of reserves for you?
Oh gosh, my fixed expenses are about $2,500 a month, so it's not much. Yeah. Chicago.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm moving to Chicago is right. God damn it. Dump it in the brokerage, I think. Now, what about you saying that you're very aggressive in your in terms of like the actual allocation? Like what's going on for you?
And Jill, you're not going to be happy with this, but
I'm happy already. I love you because you're great. Because first of all, it's not bad to be aggressive. I want everyone to hear that. I am a wimp. It's not bad to be aggressive at all. I was just with a friend of mine. He's 64 years old. He literally looked at me and my girlfriend. He's like, "You girls are like pathetically wimpy when it comes to investing." And it's true. It is true. But, that's just my personality. I would rather take risk in my career rather than in my portfolio. You could take all the risk you want as long as you're okay with it. So tell me, what are you doing?
Well, I'm pretty much 100% equities. I do have a managed fund through Fidelity that they do tax loss harvesting for me that basically tracks the S&P 500. So I pay 0.65% on that, hoping that that's worth it for me to get the tax benefits from that. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. This whole tax loss, it's not that hard to do, but yourself. But if you want them to do it, that's fine. Is that where most of these assets are held at Fidelity?
Yeah, they are.
When you say 100%, is it all U.S. equities or is it other stuff? Like, what's in there?
They're buying all this stuff for me. They're following the S&P 500, so I'm not really sure exactly. I own so many companies now because it's not just an index fund, But in terms of my traditional and Roth, they're pretty much just I think they're just U.S. S&P 500 index funds. Same thing with the 457 and the 403B. Though I am thinking of doing some just small cap and emerging market stuff.
Yeah, why not? And international? Any international for you?
I don't think outright. I don't know. I've always kind of thought that international still gets encompassed by the S&P 500 just because of our kind of power globally. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Look, if you're going to add other asset classes, here's some to consider. Obviously, the reason to add a small bond portfolio position is just that, it will not cost you that much in terms of upside, and it will smooth a little of the ride up. But if you really don't care, then fine. You've lived through market cycles already because, you've now been investing probably for, 15, 20 years. So
Right.
you know that bad things can happen. I wouldn't mind just having a 10% position in bonds. I don't know. I'm wimpy. You could also consider getting yourself, into, as you said, a small cap, an international. You could maybe diversify even by doing an emerging market. You could have a little real estate fund if you thought that was interesting to you. You could do maybe a little commodity fund, and even throw a little crypto in there if you want. And I think those are the kinds of other assets that just perform a little bit differently than the U.S. stock market. Now, Mark, what do you think about for your Philip's age? How do you feel about 100% stock position for Philip? But like Mark says, he has 20% in bonds. It helps him sleep at night. But Philip, if you are fine with it, with things as is, you don't have to worry. I have no judgment around it. I'm amazed and I'm sort of envious when people can take on that risk because I just don't have it in me. I'm such a wimp.
I just, in terms of the bond fund and that allocation, I've always just kind of thought, isn't the whole point of smoothing that ride so that as you get closer to needing that money, basically. So if I know that if I can earn enough to not have to dip in, even in my 50s, why wouldn't I stay in 100% equities? What is the point of it?
Because most people don't have the wherewithal to hang in there when the blank is hitting the fan. That's the real reason why. So if I look at, I just happen to have this. I don't know why. Thank goodness I save all this crap. I'm just looking at the Vanguard did a portfolio allocation risk reward from 1926 to 2020. Okay. If you're 100% stocks from 1926 to 2020, average annual return 10.3%. Okay. That's for 1926 to 2020. When I look at the 80-20 portfolio on an annual return basis, so 80 stocks, 20% bonds, the average annual return, instead of getting 10.3 with a 20% bond position, it's 9.8. It's a half a percentage point. Okay. Now for you, you might be like, oh, I want that half percentage point. For most human beings, they are like, I like having a little bit less of a ride.
Sure.
So that's the differential. And by the way, if you're listening here, something that's super fascinating to me, if you go into a 60-40 fund, okay, so 60% stocks, 40% bonds, okay, over the period 1926 to 2020, all right, the difference of being 60-40, your average annual return is 9.1. It's not nothing, and it adds up over time. But it's really interesting to me to see, like, wow, actually having a model that is a little bit less stock does not kill me. It really doesn't. Okay, do you have a financial question? We'd really love to hear from you. All you need to do is go to jillonmoney.com and you click the contact button. Don't forget to let us know if you want to come on the air live. Mark does the rest. Jill on Money will be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, the program that tries to help you make the next best financial decision. Sometimes you don't have to go back and litigate the past. Just make the best decision for you that is up next. If that's you, just go to jillonmoney.com and click the contact button. We'll get your note and let us know if you want to come on the air. That's what David did. David is on the line from New York. David, what's going on? How can we help you?
So I really would love, just like many of your listeners, to know where we are right now. My wife is going to stop working at the end of December. She just turned 50 actually a couple of days ago. So she's exiting the workforce pretty early. I'm going to probably work for 3 more years. I have a contract that if I work 3 more years, we're going to get health insurance until I'm 72.
Wow.
Yes, I'm very excited about that, which is why I'm going to go 3 more years at least. That gets my wife to 65, and it also gets my children through college, and it'll get them past 26. The company was really supportive in that, so I'm going to at least work 3 more.
How much do you earn, David?
I earn about $150,000.
Okay. And do you have a retirement plan at work?
I have a 403B.
Okay. And how much do you contribute to the 403B?
The max. Okay. And that's one of my questions later, is if I should continue that as we try to navigate how much we spend per month and the reality that her salary is not going to be part of our lives anymore.
Gotcha. Are you 50?
I am 56.
All right. So right now, when you say you're putting the max into the 403B, $19,500 plus the $6,500 catch up?
That is correct.
Okay, great. How much is in the 403B account right now?
Well, I switched school districts, so total my IRA 403B is $337,000. I started late.
Okay. And you said school districts. Will you be entitled to a pension?
It's a very good pension. I'll probably be looking at close to $100,000 a year.
Whoa.
That includes a widow's pension, so it would be a little bit higher, but they reduce it in case I die before my wife. She'll get whatever I'm getting for the rest of her life.
Okay, great. How old are your kids?
12 and 10, we started late.
And do you have any money saved for their education or not really?
Yes, we have 529s. They both have around 75,000. And that's one of my questions too. I know I have several questions, but do we have enough in those and should we start feeding those more? I'm always skeptical on how much to put in them.
Okay. How much is your wife making now? Currently?
Well, that's the interesting story. She was making between 250 and 300, but they just changed her revenue formula, and she's now down to probably 120 to 150, which is one of the reasons she's leaving.
And is she leaving like I'm leaving and I'm slamming the door and like that's it? Or do you think she will go back to work at some point?
She is looking at the possibility of finding work, but she's really not sure what that is. And for the right now, we're probably going to have her just stay at home while we can and, do all the work that's needed with a 12 and a 10-year-old.
When you gave me your retirement savings, that 337,000, that was for you. Does she also have retirement savings?
Yep, she has a small IRA and a 401k, which amounts to about 1.2 million, and the most of that's in the 401k.
Okay, great. Do you, through work, do you have a Roth option or just the traditional 403?
Just traditional.
Okay.
We have no money in Roth at this point.
And how about cash money, like just in the bank?
We have about $100,000 in the bank.
House?
House is worth about 700 to 750, and we own it outright.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes.
So what's your nut? Like if you look at what it costs you to run your lives, your wife will be home, so you'll save on any babysitting, I guess. But what about like just the running of your household every month? What do you think that is?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we're looking right now. I'm the one that looks at the finances, and we spend probably between $7,000 and $10,000 a month. But we do that without really having oversight. So one of the things my wife and I have talked about is we're going to have to, tighten the belt, look at a budget, and think about how we spend. It's not unusual for us to go out to dinner with the kids and do all the things that we like to do because we can afford it right now.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, but look, this is going to be a whole different transition anyway, because if she's got $1 million saved, 1.2, and she's been working her tushy off for a while. She's going to breathe a little bit, and that's okay. Is there anything else that I'm missing from this?
We have an investment account of about $400,000.
So that's a taxable investment account. Where is that held?
That's in Morgan Stanley.
So you have a financial advisor?
We do. I one of the things I always ask is, well, how much does it cost me to have these financial advisors? And they came with my wife, and they never really tell me. They say, somewhere between 1% and 2%. And I listen to you enough to say, yeah, that gives me pause.
Right now, the Morgan Stanley person has her small IRA, the taxable account, and your IRA, right?
Correct.
How do you feel about managing your own money? Would that freak you out? Can we fire this advisor? Okay.
Yeah, it would.
It would. Okay.
And I don't have the time.
Okay. How about she? Because she could take this on. She could now become the chief financial officer of the family.
I think she would. If she were here, she'd be like, that's not happening.
Is this person doing any sort of financial planning for you or just managing the money?
We do have a meeting once a year where they give me, 100 pages on projections. I ask a lot of questions. I don't always understand everything that's going on. I feel like I have a good grasp of finances, but when it comes to that, it gets so thick in the report that I'm like, I really don't know what you're saying to me.
There are alternatives, okay? The alternative for you guys would not be to do it yourselves because you don't want to do it yourselves. But what you could potentially do is you could go into a robo, meaning an online platform, and you could get financial advice with that. We'll get back to David's question in just a second. Hey, during the break, go to JillOnMoney.com and check out the resource section. Mark keeps that up to date. It's a lot of really important information. If you have a resource you want to suggest to us, just click the contact button and send us that resource. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. let's get back to listener David and finish up with him. So if you decide to stay with Morgan Stanley, you have to pinky swear with me that you're going to get a reduction in your fee, because you're
Okay.
going to have money that pours in there, right? And you're going to have almost $2 million with this person. You say to them, I want to know exactly what the fee is. And then you say, what you want to pay. And to me, you should not be paying more than 1% on $2 million. And I would say you should try to get them down to, say, 0.75%. See if you can get that, then stick around.
Okay. That's
Right?
great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Next year, you're going to drop into the 22% tax bracket.
Even with my salary.
Yeah, because you're making 150, and that's the top of the bracket's 172,750.
Okay.
All right. So you're in the 22% tax bracket. And so a couple of things. You don't have a Roth option right now in terms of your account. So I would keep doing, you don't have to save as much in the retirement account, but I would probably just do probably 20. It's so weird. It's like your pension is so good that I think you just want to make sure you can afford everything that you like to live your life, that 10 grand a month. So I don't know, I'm okay with you just sort of saying at least for the first year, and you get a handle on the expenses, let's pull that, your contribution level down to, 19.5. You don't have to do the extra 6,500 because you're over 50. All right. Let's see how that goes. But then I think, especially if you stay with this Morgan Stanley guy, then what you want to do is start maybe thinking about a strategy to convert some of the money, because all of your money, which is now will be $1.6 million, has not been taxed. Once you're in the 22% tax bracket, it's worth converting some of that a little bit at a time. So I would start doing that. And I think the easiest way to do it would be, to maybe knock off some of the small IRAs, but you would have to actually sell something in the taxable account to pay the tax that's due on the money you're converting. So I'm sure you have a lot of embedded capital gains, and this is a real strategy that would take some foresight, but I think it's worth considering at the very least. And don't put any money into the 529s. You're fine. You're going to just have to deal with it right now, because part of her leaving the workforce means that you're not going to fully fund a private school education for each of your kids. You're just not going to, you can't afford it.
Right.
If you decide you want to, life is good if it's, 4 or 5 years from now and you're in you're 60 years old and you're like, you know what, things are great. And we've made a bunch of money and we can contribute to some of this. Sure. You don't have to put more money in. This is a good base that they have. And let's see where things land. Let's see if your wife likes this game plan. Essentially, when you leave the workforce at 50, even if it may suck for her because she's like, I'm making half what I made before, but she's still making money.
Right.
So if she were to re-enter the workforce in a couple of years, because she's like, oh, you know what, this not working was great for a year, but I'm going to pull my hair out, then I think then you can start restarting some of these funding vehicles. But for now, I really wouldn't do much more, because you just have to see where things settle for you.
We may need a couple thousand here or there. So you're saying we should take those out of investment, not reduce the $100,000?
No, you can use the cash, but you're going to eat into that cash, right? And then at some point you're going to start feeling anxious about it, because you're going to say, you're only one salary. You're in education. So chances are you're not going to get fired. So what's your real cash number? Is probably 50? Is that's right about your 5 or 6 months, 60,000?
Yes, and I think we can easily get down to $7,000 a month.
That's what you say now. You're going to get very mad. You're going to be like, oh, I don't want it. Okay, but okay. So yeah, you can use some of the cash to float expenses in the near term. While this transition is going on, I do think it's important for you guys to know that you have a lot of options. So don't lock yourself into this place of we must spend $7,000 a month because we cannot touch it. Don't do that to yourselves. You have $400,000 in this taxable account. That is your money. You can use that money. All right. You can use it if something is happening. You could potentially use that and pay for college, but we need more information. I wouldn't want you to do that. But, if you're going to have this great pension of $100,000 a year, chances are your pension plus 2 Social Security checks means that you guys are pretty close to hitting your numbers, at least pre-tax, right? So you're not going to need all this money. It's just a question of like right now you're in this in-between period of her age 50 to when she claims and you guys start claiming Social Security. And that's money you need to access. Again, I wouldn't do anything crazy immediately. I would think about the conversion, but maybe I wouldn't do it. Maybe I'd just do a little bit of it because I want to preserve the opportunity to keep that money around for you guys. We don't know what this next period's going to look like yet. I think it's too early. I think the decision's great. You can afford to do it, but things are going to shift a lot. And so you should stay in touch with us.
Thank you so much.
Mark, is there anything else? Oh, how about wills and powers of attorney and healthcare proxies?
Well, we knew this was important, so we started probably almost a year ago and working with a lawyer. It's been a little slow moving, but we have all the paperwork done. We just now have to have everything accredited. So I'm basically saying, yes, those are done.
Okay. How about life insurance?
Yes, we both have policies. We have $1 million for my wife and $500,000 for me.
Okay, if you are like David and you've got questions about both spouses working, one spouse working, or maybe just you making a change in your life, go to JillOnMoney.com and click the contact button. That's all you have to do. Jill on Money. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. Before we finish the program, let's squeeze in one more question from you guys. This is from Marie, and our subject, retirement savings. Here's the message. Hi, Jill. I've listened to you on TV and radio for ages. I'm 79, and I've cashed in all of my CDs, and I'd like to know what is the best investment for me to put my money in, which will be safe. I'm not interested in making a lot of money. I just want to maybe make a small income. I want to thank you for any assistance. You're great. Well, thank you, Marie. Listen, Marie, safe and investing is really hard. So I'm concerned that you pulled all your money out of CDs. I'm wondering why. I wish I had a little bit more information about you. In essence, if this is all the money you have in the world, I'd be really careful. And even if you were building a diversified portfolio, even if this is not really money you need to live on, you would still want to keep the risk low. So I would ask you to follow up with us. I'd love to talk to you, maybe on the air. That would be fun. Mark will do everything. But I think here's the most important part of this. When we talk about investing is really hard to do overall if you're really concerned about safety. And that's why we usually retreat to the boring world of CDs and short-term bonds. But I'd like to know more about you. Please feel free to get in touch with us. Okay, that's it. That's the program. We are so grateful that you are listening to us. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer, and we'd like to remind you to please lift someone up today. It will make them feel better. It will make you feel better. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next week.